Hi again. I'm Jill Hendrickson Lohmeyer, as you probably remember, and I am an associate professor in the College of Education at UMass Lowell. I want to talk to you today about the messaging that we send out with the artwork that you all help the youth create and the contest guidelines. Dr. Shauna Rose Thompson will be the person that you most often are in contact with, probably regarding details of the contest. So I just wanted to put her name up there again, just so you remember that she has all kinds of answers that you might need. So let's start with, where do you start with the youth? And what your role is. Your role, although you all know that you're mentors, some of you act as teachers, but your role in this project really isn't to be a teacher per se. You will be teaching them a lot, but we primarily want you to act as a facilitator to help them learn. Now, you all have learned a lot through these workshops and these videos that will be super useful in helping them, but we don't expect that you know all of the answers to all of the questions that they ask, either about the contest, about the art, or about the science. So we just are hoping that you can facilitate their learning, that you will be able to provide information for them, but you also will help them learn more on their own. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. Also that you will be in charge of the logistics of entering the contest, of helping them submit their artwork and things like that, and really just support them in this whole process. You'll be the liaison between the students or the youth and us at Cool Science. I think you all have already been to coolscience.net, but when you begin to help the students with this contest, that's where you're going to start, and you're probably going to start there with them. And share that with them and their parents. When you go to the website, and as we've talked about in these workshops, we start with the challenge questions. And the artwork that the youth create should address one of the following challenge questions. What can you and your family do to keep cool in a heat wave or to keep warm in a blizzard? Right now it's incredibly hot, and I think a lot of them will probably have some ideas about what they've been doing to keep cool this summer. Another question they could answer is, how does a severe storm form? Or they could answer, how can your community prepare for extreme flooding? It doesn't matter which one they choose. They do not need to answer more than one. They may start trying to do all of them, and we would encourage you to help them pick one. So they might want to think about one, and if that doesn't seem like it's going anywhere, then you can suggest you change, but their final artwork should really just address one of these questions, not 2 or 3. One of the first things that you're going to need to help them do as a mentor is really understand what the questions mean. And they're relatively straightforward, but some of the youth may not know some of the terms, so you want to make sure they understand what the question is asking. And the best way you can really do this is just to ask them to tell you what they think it's about. So what do you think they're asking about is a good way to start your conversation with the youth. And that can be done one-on-one or with a small group of youth, or even big, I guess. But just allow them to tell you what they think, and then you can brainstorm with them about what it could mean. They may not know exactly, so thinking about and brainstorming with them is a really important part of this whole process. One of the things you can ask them is, do you ever remember being so cold that you didn't know what to do, or so hot, or have you ever seen a big storm, and things like that. So helping them remember things that they've seen that are relevant. You can also encourage them to do research, whether using our website or other websites about the topics, and get them thinking about what they could mean. We've talked a lot about the accordion books, so you should be able to have them begin to sketch in those accordion books some beginning ideas, images, words, anything that they want to put in there, helping them to understand that what they put in the book is just a way to get them thinking. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the final picture that they're going to create, but it's a place for them to put their ideas. Remind them that if they need to add pages later, they can do that, and you can tape them in or glue them in, however you want to do, or they want to do, but they should have plenty of space to put their ideas down. sometimes when youth start doing these pictures, they create things that aren't really scientifically accurate. So they're inaccurate. And one of the questions we often get is, what do I do when it's clearly not true what they're writing? We used to have a lot of pictures that would come up with, I don't know, flying cars to the moon or things like that, which we know that we can send spaceships to the moon. But the idea is that we have these flying cars that are really powerful aren't exactly accurate. So talking to them about, what is this? What does that mean? Do you think that could happen? And so forth is really important. Now, in that case, it may be a hypothetical, how could we do something in the future, but really help them think about, you know, is it possible that this could be true? If it, you know, if they draw a picture of a snowman and it also has summer out, you know, what is that about? Why are you including that? So sometimes you want to give them room for artistic expression, but also make sure that what they're creating makes sense. Do your best to ask questions and not tell them exactly what to draw. You might, you know, offer suggestions about, what are you thinking about? What kinds of things might you draw to indicate or to show us that it's really hot in your picture or really cold? But don't really say, I think you should draw this, or, you know, you should draw this because that's what the question's asking. We do not want you to tell them what the right answers are. We don't want you to say, this is exactly how a storm forms, you should draw this. We do want you to tell them about how a storm forms, but as they sit down to do their artwork, we don't want you to step by step say, put this in, put that in, put that in. We want you to explain and then let them take what they get from you and do the drawing. I hope that makes sense, because we do want you to teach. We just don't want you to say, you should draw this. Feel free to refer back to the videos that you've watched. We know that it's a lot to remember. We don't remember everything all the time. And so we're hoping that these videos that Bob created, that Kevin created this week, will help you if you want to go back and review explanations that you can use with your youth. By all means, do that. If you want to show them parts of the videos, you may do that too. Feel free. Also, we hope that you will go to our website, use the resources that we have there. We have resources for different ages. We have lesson plans, all kinds of things that you can use to help with what you're helping this youth understand. So feel free to do that. And also, if you really are stuck and you don't know an answer and you haven't been able to find it through all of the resources, feel free to reach out to one of us. You can email us, email Shauna, email coolscience.net. One of us will get back to you, and we can even, if we need to, set up a time to talk to you if you have questions. So feel free to reach out if you're really stuck. One of the things that is important to remember, and most of the youth and maybe you haven't really dealt with before, is that when they're creating art, they're not just creating an art, a drawing or a painting for themselves for a small audience. They're creating something that could potentially be what we call out-of-home media, which is really a unique form of communication. It should be easily accessible by the viewer, but remember, it's also fleeting. So if it's on the side of the bus, it may go right past somebody pretty quickly. So because people are not going to spend a lot of time looking at this art, like you would in a museum, it's going to be a very different experience than going to a museum. You need to help the youth remember, this is something that you want the message to be quick to see. Now, there can be lots of interesting things that if you look really closely, you might get that you won't see as a bus goes by, but the general message should be really clear from far away in a pretty quick amount of time for people as they're looking at the art. Remembering then also with out-of-home media that, you know, it's a great way to show really clear visual, direct messages. This is not a place where you want to have a whole bunch of details about all of these processes. Less is definitely more in this kind of artwork. We recommend that you, and also that you help the youth, begin to pay attention to out-of-home media such as billboards and posters that you might see on a train or a bus or things like that. So you might encourage your youth when you first introduce the idea to when they begin to really create their art, to start looking at billboards and then have a discussion with them about how much information can you really see when you're in a car and you drive by a billboard, and what do you get, which ones do you see and understand quickly and which ones are harder. And that helps them to think about their creation process too. You can ask them about, what makes it effective, and then use that information to shape their project. When we do judge the artwork, and we do have to judge it so that we can pick which ones should go on the buses, we use our full team. We will have experts in science, in art, in education, in advertising. All of these people will come together. We'll have a pretty big team go through and look at the artwork. And the things that we are going to judge the artwork on, first of all, does it answer one of the prompt questions? The art has to answer one of these questions. And is it clear which question they answered? We look for scientific accuracy. If it is inaccurate, we cannot put it up. We look for aesthetic appeal. Is it engaging? Does it pull you in? Do you want to look at it? Limited use of words. We don't want a whole detailed paragraph writing an explanation of how a storm forms. We want to be able to see, is the message clear? Is the message clear from far away? Can I see what the youth artist was trying to say? There are 4 things that each entry has to include when you go to upload these. The artwork, or a picture of the artwork. So you may either mail in the actual posters that they create, or you may take a picture and upload that picture. There has to be an artist statement for each artist, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about all of these in just a second. There needs to be pictures of the accordion books from at least 10 of your mentees. You do not have to turn in all of the accordion books, but as a mentor, we expect to have at least 10 accordion books from you. And each entry has to have parental permission. So going back to the artwork guidelines, the artwork itself should be 22 inches by 7 inches with a 1-inch white border on all sides. This is basically if you take a standard poster board, which is 24 by 36, and divide it into 4 parts, you will have this exact size. So that's a really good way to figure that out. It must be in landscape orientation. It must be this way, horizontal, not vertical, because otherwise you can imagine you can't put on a bus a poster that's going vertically. So make sure it's our portrait, make sure it's in landscape orientation. There may not be any photography or clip art. If you're submitting art electronically, the file has to have a resolution of 300 dpi. And be sure the poster is easy to read from 5 feet away. Put their posters up on a wall, have the youth stand back 5 feet, look at it, and see if they think that people are going to be able to read it. So I mentioned that we need an artist statement from each youth artist. This should really just be a statement about what the art means to them. We know that for young children, there are going to be some really young children who create art. We don't expect that they will write this all out or type it. You or their parent can type this up for them, but it should be their answer, not your answer. Even if they're older, it should not be your or the parents or a teacher's interpretation of what they meant. It should be in their words. So that means that it's okay if we see typos, it's okay if it's not perfect grammar. What we really want to know is what they were thinking and why they created. You can ask them all kinds of questions that might start that conversation. There are a list of questions here. I'm going to go through some of them. We do not expect that each artist statement will have all of these answers in it. These are just prompts that you can use to help them answer the question of what is your art about, basically. So you can say things like, how did you answer the question in your artwork? What are you trying to say? You can also ask them things about, like, what did you learn when you created this? What inspired you to make this? What do you hope other people will learn when they look at your art? One that's really good is, just tell me what's going on in your poster here. Those kinds of things are all great prompts for an artist statement. So as I said, they don't have to answer all of these questions. It can be no more than 250 words, but it's fine if it's shorter. It doesn't have to be that long. We really just want the kids to tell us, what's this art about? That's what we want to see in these artist statements. So we've talked a lot about the accordion books. As a mentor, you need to submit photos of the planning process your mentees completed in their accordion books. The next and last video is about how to record the accordion books. It's a short video, but it'll help explain what you need to do and what you need to submit, how you submit the accordion book information. One of the things with the poster, the accordion books you're going to take pictures of, but with the posters, if you send in the artwork, you need to remember that it will not be returned. If it's selected as a winner, then they will get a poster of that art, but most of them, if they send in the actual artwork, will not be getting their artwork back. If you take a picture, of course, they keep it. So if you are going to send it in, and it is fine if you do that, just make sure that you and or their parents take pictures of it so that they will have a copy to keep. And in saying that, you know, I said that the winners will get a poster. Most students are not going to win. This is a big contest, and we do it so that we can put this artwork out in public spaces, as I talked about in my first video, as part of informal science education, because we want best writers to see this art. But we also really want the youth to just learn and become engaged in art and science as they create this art. So the goal for us isn't to have, you know, this idea that students enter this only because they want to win, but we really want to focus on the learning process more than the winning process, and help them, you know, focus on the things that are enjoyable about learning science, about creating art. Really focus on that rather than, oh, I really hope you win. You know, it is fine, of course, to hope that, but we're hoping the focus is on the learning and just the excitement of learning as much as, if not more than, the contest. One of the things that you can do, knowing that most of the students aren't going to win, is if you have a group in the same setting, like a boys and girls club or an after-school club or something like that, you could actually organize an art exhibit for them to share with each other and maybe with their parents or other people in that community before you submit their artwork. So if you want to set everybody's posters up before they're submitted and let them talk about it, or just to put them on display, by all means, please do that. Just, of course, remember you have to have parental permission probably to display that, but also you need to have parental permission to submit their art to us. It is really important that we do get that parental permission, and the information about how to do that will be on our website with the information about submitting entries. One of the things that I want to remind you also is, as I mentioned in my first video, this is a National Science Foundation funded research project about informal science learning. And one of the ways that we learn about what you all are learning and what your youth are learning is simply to ask you. And so we will be asking you to complete a follow-up survey when you submit the artwork about your experience working with the youth. We do that so that we can learn. And so, you know, it's fine if you say, you know, I didn't really learn as much as I hoped, or you may say, wow, I learned a lot, or my students learned, or they liked this, or they didn't like that. Whatever it is fine, but we just want the information so that we can continue to make these programs as useful to you all and to the youth in your communities as possible. So again, you can submit all of the artwork electronically via our website. I mentioned that if you want to send things in the mail or if you have questions, the contact person is Dr. Shauna Rose Thompson. Her information is here. It is also on the website, so you can contact her via the Cool Science email or her own email or call her. All of that information is here for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us, and we hope to talk to you soon about these questions. Thanks so much for your time.